You ever notice how in training, when one thing goes right, everything seems to go right? But on the other hand, when one thing goes wrong, the whole world seems to collapse around you? 99% of powerlifting is done off the platform. The house of cards that makes up your total consists of your nutrition, your training, your flexibility, your cardio, your work capacity, all of which will inevitably lead to a day that you didn't want. Because though we all want to compete, our ambitions are higher than our abilities dictate that we can do. My oldest brother had a saying: in any sport, the most dangerous lead you can have is a 2-score lead. Because when you're up by 2, you feel comfortable, but it's not impossible for the opposing team to come back in just a few seconds. Just a few bounces that don't go your way, and turns out you're actually losing. The entire sport of powerlifting is operating with a 2-point lead. When it comes to training, you could feel good about something, and then suddenly something starts to hurt. When it comes to nutrition, you could have it all planned out, and then you get stuck in traffic for 3 hours and miss a meal. Unforeseen things happen in your life that will negatively impact your powerlifting experience. So no matter how far ahead you get, no matter how good you feel, you're only ever operating with a 2-score lead. Suffice to say, when you're feeling comfortable, it's the perfect time to get yourself feeling uncomfortable. It's time to start working on your cardio. It's time to start working on your flexibility. It's time to break down your form. As Ed Cohn once said, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if your bench is feeling real good, ride that wave out to your squats. If your squats are feeling good, ride that wave out through your deadlifts. Because your body can't tell the difference between mental, emotional, and physical stress. And the better you feel mentally and emotionally in all things throughout your life, the better things are gonna go. As powerlifters, we pin so much of our mental and emotional well-being on whether or not our squat, bench, or deadlift is doing well, that when things start to not go very well, things get even worse than they would had we not given so much mental and emotional weight to the weights that are on our backs or in our hands. And honestly, that's what's going on with me in my training right now. Bench and deadlifts have been going so phenomenally that it doesn't make sense how terribly squats are going. As of late, squats have been pretty bipolar. There are times like this week where it's feeling like I'm on top of the world, like I can put anything on my back and squat it up. And there's other times where it's going so poorly that I might as well be squatting on one leg. And since squats are my bread and butter, my best lift, the downs that I've been feeling with my squats have been lasting longer and have been much lower. And since I'm trying to do something that no super heavyweight has ever done before, which is an entirely different approach to the sport, an identity crisis has crept up on me. Am I too light to be a super heavyweight? Can I still squat the numbers that I've squat in the past? Can I still bench as much as I used to? The anecdotal data of other super heavyweights is pointing towards one direction, but the anecdotal data of the other lifters, the lighter lifters, is pointing in a completely different direction. So I have that question in my head: am I doing this correctly? Am I going about this the right way? And the answer is, I don't know. And not knowing is reducing my level of confidence in the path that I'm taking. Because there's an overwhelming amount of data in either direction as to, is this right or is this wrong? Is what I'm doing right, or is what I've done in the past the right way to go too? And the correct answer is that there is no correct answer. Because while I'm focusing and staring at the negatives that are just blurting themselves out in my face, the overwhelming amount of positive things that are positively impacting my training, increasing my total, and helping my work capacity are getting ignored. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel if you're not even sure you're in the right tunnel. But if you look around, you might be surrounded with gold and diamonds. So something my good friend Shane Haller once told me has been coming back to me over and over again. Always leave the gym with a win. It's not always going to be a pound PR. It's not always going to be a rep PR. Sometimes you find out why your form sucks. Sometimes it's 90 degrees in the gym and you got to leave with the mental victory that, yeah, you survived that. And instead of focusing on all the negatives that are happening around you in the gym and losing every single time that you leave the gym, you got to find the small victories where you're actually winning in the gym. And the more often that you succeed in finding those small victories, the easier it gets to identify those victories, and you can pull that momentum into a PR on the platform. Bench and deadlifts are going phenomenally for me. And those squats aren't being my best friend right now. Recognizing that 2/3 of my training is going well is going to help me a lot better mentally and emotionally in the long run. And while training's only about 10% of the clam chowder we call powerlifting, I'm able to recognize that I'm doing the right things in the other 89% of powerlifting that I have control over. Trusting the process that Brianni Terry, my nutritionist, and Joe Sullivan has set out for me is a thing. Nobody's really done it before, so there's no set path that I'm able to follow. And it's a little mentally and emotionally distracting. Kind of like how Buddy's distracting me right now. To walk the path of powerlifting that I am when there is no guide. Somebody's got to be the first to do something before it's a thing that's done. That's a sentence that's very not general whatsoever. And I'm not going to be able to lay the bricks to this yellow brick road if I'm constantly getting pulled off path by things like my squats are not going well, so let me just feel bad about it, add probably 1 or 2 points of RBE to everything that I'm doing because I'm distracted by the fact that squats are not going well. So let's negatively impact both our bench and deadlifts because squats are not going well. When what we really should be recognizing is that bench and deadlifts are going really well, and be mentally and emotionally attached or give weight to the positive effects that these lifts are having. The build up the momentum that bench and deadlifts are going well, bench and deadlifts are going well, bench and deadlifts are going really well. And let that momentum feed into squats. So squats might not be going very well. Squats might not be doing real good, might not be doing okay. Well, maybe it's doing okay, maybe it's starting to feel good. The more that we focus on the positives of our training that we put so much mental and emotional weight towards, the better things are going to turn out because momentum swings. So while certain aspects of your training are probably not going well, it is, if you look at baseball, no hitter bats 1,000. It just doesn't happen. The same thing happens with powerlifting. You're not going to come across a block where absolutely everything goes well. Life happens. So if you follow Shane's advice and find a small win every time that you leave the gym, you're going to build up the habit of winning. And what Vince Lombardi once said, winning is a habit. So if you take a different side of that same coin, losing can also be a habit. Don't be a loser. Teach yourself to win.